Todd grabbed it and tossed it out like it was a particularly annoying fruitcake, but Neil radiated warmth like a sunny day. Every time Todd felt lost, a gentle light shone into his heart, the unknown to all. That eternally smiling big kid was secretly dragging around chains heavier than a nature documentary see today. Neil burst into the dome like he just won the lottery. He passed the audition for Branching Dreams. Even more thrilling, he was selected as the lead after his very first audition. He couldn't wait to share the news until the crew said, "Show us that parent permissions." Neil lived in a Cyrillic letter 4790 Gravoa house, like a silent puppet tied to his father's expectations. His dad wouldn't even let him do extracurricular activities, cramming Neil's enthusiasm into a tiny box while making sure none of it could escape. Neil knew Dad would never approve, so he forged a permission slip, but the truth always comes out. Dad exploded on finding out. Without Neil's explanation, Dad demanded his withdrawal, leaving Neil almost in tears. "Tomorrow is performance day." "No way, I can't. My big moment is tomorrow, and I don't care if the world tomorrow is performance day or else." Dad envisioned Neil heading straight to an Ivy League school to elevate the family's status. So, whenever Neil rebelled, Dad's guilt trips were better than an emotional weapon. "See, I've put so much effort into you. Can't you let me live out my dreams through?" "You're not going to let me down. Please, no." As Dad's figure disappeared, the room felt empty, silence and tension hanging in the air. Neil's only confidant now was Mr. Keating. Mr. Keating's warm eyes looked at him like he was holding a secret cookie. "You should really talk to you. Show him your stage passion. Let him know your thoughts. Dreams need courage to face fears, not just love." Neil knew Dad was stubborn and wouldn't listen. Thus, Neil decided in his heart. The next day, Keating asked again. Neil smiled. He agreed. "See, but in reality." Neil never communicated with Dad, determined to pursue his dream, so he sneaked away to finish the stage play. That evening, his classmates cleaned up and came to cheer him on. On stage, Neil wore a crown that sparkled like a disco ball. He practiced every move, punched with power, every line delivered with gusto. The audience held their breath, and applause erupted like popcorn in a microwave. Mr. Keating gave a thumbs up. After the show, applause surged, and the audience stood cheering. The crowd cheered for Neil, but Dad stared blankly in the corner, the applause turning to ridicule in his ears. To him, applause was mocking. Silently, he pushed through the crowd to face Neil, silent. He grabbed Neil's arm like he had just caught a kid stealing cookies, determined to take him home for a serious talk. But then Keating rushed in, genuinely praising Neil's talent like he was an Oscar-winning actor, only realizing then. Neil never told Dad about the performance. Poor Neil was tossed into the car like a stray cat as the door slammed shut. It was like the door shut on his last dream. Back home, Dad unilaterally decided Neil's life path in his best interest. Neil was shipped off to military school for 10 years of fun education. This bombshell shattered his last hopes like a glass Christmas ornament. He turned to his mom for help, but she only nodded as if she had just discovered a new flavor of ice cream. Neil thought if he'd just survived graduation, had finally escaped Dad's claws and chased his dreams, but little did he found himself in another series cliffhanger, pursuing his own dreams thwarted by Dad's expectations. When Neil bravely tried to communicate, Dad cut him off with, "Don't even dream about it. See, outside was a starry night." Inside, silence reigned. Neil stood by the window, moonlight illuminating his sad face, staring afar. As if out there lay the freedom he once had, he shed no tears, just softly said goodbye to that humble yet passionate dream, then turned to step onto the stage of the script already written for him. He slowly descended the stairs, opening that locked door like a secret treasure chest, finding a gun wrapped in cloth since he couldn't escape the cage, had used his life as a blade to break the chains. The gunshot woke Dad, rushing to the room. He rushed to Neil's dark room, finding only an open window and the elf crown. The crown lay there quietly like a sad story. He bolted downstairs, suddenly noticing the study door ajar. He saw vague white smoke, frantically searching till his gaze fell on the gun resting on a limp hand. He rushed forward and fell to the ground, but no matter how he shouted, he couldn't wake someone already trapped, finally free from that cage. The son who could no longer fly. Meanwhile, Todd, still half asleep, was stirred awake. Charlie sat by the bed, tears streaming down his face, speechlessly mourning the day. Snowflakes danced around like a sad ballet. It was as if the heavens mourned too. In the cold wind, Todd and classmates bid farewell to Neil, with snowflakes falling. Every flake fell into everyone's heart, Todd whispered to himself, trying to use light words to hide the storm brewing in his chest. But the next second, he bent down, dry heaving violently. An unbearable pain struck deep within him. Meanwhile, he felt helpless. Keating was lost in sorrow, browsing finest treasures of Ben Knott. The bold words moved Keating to tears. Elsewhere on campus, the principal was indifferent, hastily organizing a memorial to appease outside pressure. He held a symbolic memorial, reading emotionless words, never truly caring about Neil's dreams. He held a symbolic memorial, reading emotionless words, never truly caring about Neil's dreams.